Welcome, everyone. My name is Kim Courvoisier, and I'm the Senior Director of Content Marketing here at Lab. And when I heard the title of this webinar, I begged to host it because there's nothing I like more than creating content to help marketers crush ROI in a budget-friendly way. Speaking of someone who's known for crushing goals, I'm thrilled to be joined by our Vice President of Demand Gen at Lab, Julie Ginn. Hi, Julie, welcome. I'm so excited to get to sit down and chat with you today because even though we work together a lot, it's not often I get to pick your brain about things like this. So I'm super excited for this opportunity. And a little birdie told me that you have a very interesting coworker joining you.
Yeah, that's true. So thank you for inviting me to join. I love talking about ROI. And yes, I do share my tiny office space with a very cantankerous little critter, my daughter's lionhead bunny. Her name is Princess Daffodil. She gets very upset when she's hungry, and she likes to occasionally throw her food bowl at me. So fair warning, we are close to feeding time, so y'all might get lucky and see her pitching arm today.
I mean, that might be a very iconic moment in this webinar. So we can only hope. Come on, Daffodil, come through for us. Maybe she could try out for the SF Giants pitching squad. Well, I'm sharing my space with a 3-legged cat and an 8-pound emotional support poodle. So we really have quite the pet crew with us today, as well as an amazing group of humans. So let's get on with the webinar. If anyone in our audience has questions, you can just drop them in the Q&A located in your Zoom navigation bar, and we'll get to as many of the questions at the end. Following the webinar, we'll send you the Modern Marketer's Guide to Crush ROI and Budget Goals with direct mail, and a recorded version of the session. So for now, you can just sit back and enjoy the conversation between Julie and myself. We'll chat about several things in today's session, and I want to keep it pretty conversational. So let's dive right in. As you know, marketers, we're used to changing directions on a dime. Because we're in unprecedented economic conditions, we have to focus on marketing channels and tactics that maximize ROI. We must ensure the budget we spend is strategic and laser focused on generating revenue. But the challenge is, how do we balance changing budgets when our goals don't change or might even increase? In a recent LinkedIn poll we conducted, 44% of respondents indicated that their budgets had been reduced. So Julie, as a demand gen leader, what's your approach when you're faced with budget constraints, but your goals remain the same?
Yeah, so I mean, marketers are always being asked to do more with less, right? I don't think that is unique to our current economic conditions, which means we should always be hyper-focused, right, on becoming more efficient and getting the most dollars in return for every single dollar we spend. I think the most valuable thing anybody could do right now is to make sure you have a very clear line of sight into what the return on marketing spend is down to the channel level. So if you don't have that in place, you can't dial up and dial spend depending on what is and isn't working. And that's what you need to be able to do when budgets get restricted very quickly. So if you need that, there are a few things you could focus on. And the first one I would always recommend is paying attention to the infrastructure you have in place. So that's everything from reporting to data hygiene to lead lifecycle management. It's all that necessary stuff if you want accurate understanding of what cost is to acquire new customers. The other thing is just have a very solid testing protocol in place. You don't want to spend money and then hope things pay off. You want to test new tactics cautiously, slowly, iteratively, and then take the time to reevaluate constantly. By the way, you can only do that if you've got that reporting in place I just mentioned. And lastly, I just say focus on process improvements and automation wherever you can. I know we all hear a lot about automation, but automation is absolutely worthless without great data. So I'd always recommend investing in data hygiene first.
Oh yeah, and that's something we're going to talk a lot about today. And I'm sure one that our audience can relate to. I especially like investing in infrastructure that can establish that foundation, right, to build on and increase the ability to scale efficiently. We'll hear similar stories about that as well today. Let's talk a bit about conversion. The customer journey is no longer linear. It's not this nice, neat funnel you see on the left side of the screen, right? It requires multiple touch points via multiple channels before a potential or existing customer is ready to convert. Common conversion direct mail campaigns include acquisition, retention, and reactivation. Next slide. Despite budget constraints, as we've said, we still have high acquisition and retention goals to meet. Where your marketing team puts its focus will depend on your organization's goals. But the exceptional thing about direct mail is that it works across the funnel, alongside and in conjunction with other digital tactics. And that's why we see marketers using it in various ways to drive results and increase conversions. So question for you, Julie. What's the most common use case for direct mail for you and your team?
Well, let's start here. You're absolutely right, Kim. Direct mail always works best when it's one of many touch points. And it takes a lot of testing to figure out the best use of direct mail when you're doing the sequence of touch points, right? I wish I could just look into my crystal ball and tell everyone this is the best use case to improve conversions. But direct mail is just like every other marketing channel, right? You have to start by understanding your customer's journey and then ask yourself, at what point in that journey will a tangible, real life touch make a difference? So for us, we found that direct mail is a fantastic tipping point. So for example, we would not mail everyone here a postcard to get you to sign up for a webinar. We use email because that is a proven channel to get early funnel engagement. But after this webinar, if you happen to go visit our website, when we see that you are interested in our product, you may get a postcard then, because we know that a postcard gets people to take action at that point in the customer journey.
Yeah, I love that. And so we know, Julie and your team, as well as other, direct mail practitioners, are using direct mail at different points on the buyer's journey to increase conversion. So what data, triggers, offers, and tracking types are used in these campaigns? Let's take a quick look here. As you can see, the data, triggers, offers, and tracking all really come together to power intelligent direct mail campaigns. And this is a big difference that I want to hit on between junk mail, where companies will acquire, target lists and, dare I say it, spam every household in a zip code area, similar to the old spray and pray days of email marketing. Instead, with intelligent direct mail that's data first, you can send fewer mail pieces because they're targeted, they're personalized, and customized, and get better results. So truly less is more in this case. I'd love to share a few real life examples to bring this to life and show you how companies use direct mail to drive conversions across the funnel. And of course, the first one's going to come from our team here at Lab. Julie, are you using any of the tactics that are shown here?
Yeah, so we're very focused on acquisition. So that first column, and we typically we use our own database, and then we tailor the offer depending on where a person is in the buyer journey, as I just mentioned, and also what we know about them. And then we tend to use unique links to track results. So as you can see, our strategy is to rely heavily on our database, and we put a lot of emphasis on building and maintaining it.
So I'm chuckling, right? Because using data can be both a blessing and a curse, depending on how reliable, clean and accurate your data is. But being data-driven is important and can enable you to do some really powerful things, especially regarding segmentation, as you mentioned, and personalization and customization. So I'm going to share a short story and a video from iExit, which is a travel app, about how it paved the road to success. Couldn't help but throw a little pun in there. So iExit's a free travel and map app for road trippers. It provides information about businesses around highway exits. Its business model operates on advertising revenue through business sponsorships for these exits. But it was proving nearly impossible for the iExit team to find business owners' digital contact information to sell sponsorship. But through conversations with prospective customers, the team learned the most commonly asked questions and then included the answers in direct mail campaigns. The team tested several different direct mail formats and discovered that letters actually outperformed postcards for its audience. The conversion rate boost led to a 40% increase in users claiming business listings on the app and a 60% increase in purchase sponsorships. iExit's direct mail acquisition campaigns are essentially self-running, thanks to automation, which continues to drive predictable and profitable results. That's what intelligent direct mail that's focused on conversion and ROI can do. So to really bring this story to life, Evan from iExit recently chatted with us. I'm going to play a very short 1.5-minute long video of what he had to say about the campaign.
We went through a number of different, we didn't have a lot of emails for business owners. We might be able to reach out to advertising agencies and whatnot, but we really wanted to try to get at those independently owned businesses at interstate exits. And so we took to LinkedIn. We tried to find a bunch of business owners in certain areas, and that actually worked pretty well in terms of finding them, but then getting them to respond via the LinkedIn messages was difficult. And then we, ultimately went with cold calling. We had a whole month where we had the whole team cold calling businesses near interstate exits to inform them of our product and then try to sell. And we had a number of sales that came through, but in no way, form or fashion was it going to scale. And so it was around this time, probably back in 2017, 2018, where we came across Lob and realized, the light switch for direct mail came on. And then we also realized, wait a second, they have an API where they can hook up and we can actually design the mailer that's going to be sent out on a 1-by-1 basis. And so we took the good amount of time to truly integrate with Lob's API, not just to hook it up, but to hook it up and, have and design. I think our very first mailer was a 4-by-6 postcard.
I love seeing how they tested, iterated and optimized to find the best mail format for their audience. So now I'll share one more example from Marley Spoon, which is a meal subscription service, and how they found the recipe for conversion success. Marley Spoon sends recipes and pre-portioned seasonal ingredients in one convenient box, making it easy to cook a delicious dinner at home. I'm getting hungry just looking at this slide. After working with several printers on its direct mail efforts, Marley Spoon partnered with Lob to use automated direct mail to reactivate its churned customer base. The CRM reactivation team, led by Malin Detman-Levin, used two kinds of customer data, user attributes and real-time events, to create reactivation campaigns focused on high-value customers to maximize ROI. This strategy enabled the team to start small, minimizing their risk, and apply its learnings to iterate and optimize further campaigns. What happened in this campaign exceeded their expectations. The reactivation campaign drove 20% of paid conversions. And the team was so encouraged by the results of direct mail compared to other digital channels, including email marketing. Detman-Levin explained to me that they get a 263% higher conversion rate with their direct mail than email. That's incredible, right? Mind blown. But let me be clear. This isn't a story of email is bad and direct mail is good. It's really a story of using your channel strategically throughout the customer journey. And to put that 263% stat into context, the team targeted a smaller, high-value audience segment with direct mail, similar to what you said earlier, Julie, and the emails went out to all customers. They reached more customers using direct mail than they would with email because their emails don't all get opened, as we know, right? Email open rates average about 20% on a good day. So they really were able to use the right tactic at the right stage of the journey to elicit the kind of response they wanted. So I was lucky enough to get to sit down with Malin, and here's a 2-minute video of what she had to say.
So we had around more or less 20% actually of our total conversions in Q1 that came from direct mail, which I was also quite surprised to see that it was so much. I think it's quite a big part considering we haven't done it so much, but that it's already a fifth actually of all our activations. So that's pretty cool. And I also did check that with kind of the not so much testing, but still the testing we've done so far this quarter, for each direct mail that we've seen or sent, we've seen a higher conversion rate and a slightly lower CPR, so cost per reactivation. So I think that's also exciting actually to see how we have improved throughout the quarter, even though direct mail hasn't been the channel that we spent most of our focus on. So I think that's really exciting, and yeah, makes me excited for Q2 and the rest of the year and see what we can do to leverage it even more. We do see, I would say in general, a higher conversion rate with our direct mails. However, as I mentioned before, for our direct mails, we literally target also our best customers. So naturally, the conversion rate would be higher. In our emails, we combine them more. But in general, of course, then we do see a higher conversion rate. And we've also done some tests where we have a holdout group. So for example, version A of the customers would get an email and nothing else. And the second version would get an email and then a direct mail. And there we have also seen like how the direct mail impacts the overall conversion rate there. We reach more customers than we would with emails too, because of course all of our emails don't get opened. There's still a high percent of the emails that never gets opened. So I think this is also one of the really high values with direct mail, that we also can reach those types of customers that necessarily is not interested in our emails.
So Julie, I'd love to hear your take on this campaign.
Yeah, very cool. I love this example because the team was smart. Its use of direct mail, it targeted its highest value customers using it, and then they used email with lower value customers. That's brilliant.
Right on. Do you use similar tactics to target specific cohorts of your audience?
We do. And this actually relates back to what I was just saying about understanding your customer's journey, but also about understanding the value of who you're targeting, right? So our strategy here is to think of creating and capturing demand on a continuum, which means we oftentimes will start with digital tactics and then move up to offline tactics as our lead progresses. So we have our own list of key companies that are very valuable to us because of the lifetime value of the customer if we land one of these, right? And for those customers, we'll use email and digital ads to get our names in front of them and then move to direct mail, gifting, small custom events, and some higher touch, often more expensive tactics to drive them down the funnel once we've gotten them interested.
Yeah, I'd say we definitely drink our own champagne, so to speak, as we use direct mail in many of our own campaigns, like you mentioned, including our recent carbon neutral launch, because every direct mail piece we send at Lob is carbon neutral, great from the environment and your budget, enabling you to get more ROI with every piece sent, a total win-win. We also use different channels, like you said, at different stages in the customer journey, which is valuable in creating that perfect marketing mix. So let's jump in and see how direct mail really does impact ROI. As macroeconomic conditions continue to squeeze marketing budgets, the pressure for proven returns increases. That's one reason marketers are doubling down on channels they know deliver results, with return on investment being essential. Fortunately, this is where intelligent direct mail has a leg up on its digital marketing counterpart. Direct mail operates on flat rate pricing, which may differ from campaign to campaign, so you can better model and predict campaign costs, allowing you to have accurate projections and not find out later you blew your budget because of an unexpected cost or something happening. Plus, executing a campaign within only 5 to 7 days means you can start getting those results more quickly. Julie, question for you. How do you make sure every marketing dollar you spend delivers the best ROI?
Yeah, so the best advice I could give here is to always focus on your marketing spend to your bookings ratio. You want to be very efficient with your spend. And basically, you need to understand what your team is doing that is resulting in the most revenue. I mean, ideally, you want to be able to walk into every room and say, for every dollar you spend, it generates X dollars in revenue. The way we look at it, for example, let's take a look at doing trade shows. If you know that for every dollar you spend on trade shows, you generate $3 in revenue, then you can say, there's a $3 3-to-1 ratio. But your other channels might be having a better return on spend, and then you can constantly lean on them when you need to have a better ROI. So I think people are actually surprised how much of my time is spent doing data analysis so I can get to the the best route forward when we are looking at spending money.
Absolutely. I've seen your spreadsheets, and I know, marketers who do these jobs, we spend a lot of time in, the learning, right? So that we can iterate and optimize from those learnings going forward. And marketing spend doesn't, stop in a tough economy, but accounting for every dollar spent with the results generated has to become the norm if it wasn't already a standard practice. And I know it is for you. Another way to get more ROI is decreasing the time and that effort required to execute your campaign. Like email, it can be automated, which has a direct impact on your bottom line, right? Less time spent, less manual effort. Automating the process, you save that investment on time and effort. Just as we create nurture emails that can run independently, direct mail can operate similarly in the background, powering things kind of on autopilot. And of course, you can always create those ad hoc campaigns to supplement those efforts, but your direct mail marketing can run with little effort with the right integrations and triggers in place, allowing you to scale, but also iterate and optimize along the way. So you can truly, crawl, walk, run. I think this might be a good time to pivot for a second and do a quick poll of our audience. I'd love to understand how many of you know the ROI of each of your marketing channels. So let me turn on our poll here. We'll give you a minute to answer. All right, so we definitely have a variety of responses there, as I would expect. Julie, what advice would you give to those in our audience who may not know, the ROI of the channels they're using? Maybe they could borrow your spreadsheet.
Yeah. So this isn't surprising, right? And if you don't know the ROI of your channels, it probably means you're either underinvested in infrastructure, maybe you don't have agreed upon attribution model between marketing and sales, or you're just understaffed on operations headcount. So, or it could be a combination of all three. So the first step is understanding what's keeping you from getting that transparency you need to understand your ROI, and ask yourself, is it a people problem, a process problem? Is it infrastructure? And then you need to take the steps to fix that, right? For what it's worth, every high performing team I've ever been a part of, and I've been a part of a lot of great groups, they had a strong marketing ops leader to work on these issues. Marketing ops, those folks are the unsung heroes when it comes to understanding channel effectiveness and return on investment.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I remember back about a year ago when you started here at Lab, you invested a lot of blood, sweat, a few tears, and maybe a few bottles of wine to create the infrastructure that the marketing team is using today. So if anyone out there, needs some help figuring out your direct mail ROI, Lab offers a really cool tool. Our ROI calculator is a simple tool, and it only takes a few minutes to fill in, and it'll tell you if you're leaving revenue on the table, which can be super helpful when figuring out your marketing investment. So I'd like to tell another story, because that's what I do, as an example from some enterprise marketers who absolutely smashed their ROI goals. So let's get into it. So as we know, direct mail is a tried and true channel. But for those using a legacy or a manual process, it can feel super old school and very low tech. And this was true for a telecommunications company that needed to modernize its legacy direct mail workflows that were both time and resource intensive. The service provider knew the power of direct mail. They already used it for customer acquisition, and it consistently delivered results, but it was wildly inefficient. Between handoffs, approval across multiple departments, and long production timelines, the company couldn't create optimized campaigns or take advantage of real-time data. It was a total bummer. So eliminating the redundancies in the RFQ process, data processing, rendering, the company could automate its acquisition campaigns and optimize the experience for prospective customers. By streamlining the workflow and integrating Lab into their tech stack, the service provider saw an 80% increase in campaign ROI, and get this, an 85% decrease in operational costs. So, honestly, that's the way to do more with less if I've ever seen it. And now I'd love to talk about how effective targeting can also turbocharge your results. The need to deliver these highly targeted and personalized campaigns is more important than ever. Consumers expect it and want it. Providing those exceptional customer experiences and tightening budgets necessitate being able to do more with less. And personalization has gone way beyond, including a consumer's first name in the mail piece or just on, the envelope. You can use trigger-based campaigns tied to customer behaviors to create highly targeted mail pieces that enable you to get better results and spend less, just like that other example. Using a platform like Lob also will provide the granular tracking and visibility that can help you create downstream follow-up actions, like sending that email or retargeting ads that can really pump up conversions. For example, you could include a custom QR code on a mail piece and then track every visitor to the page that came from that QR code scan. You could then email everyone who visited the page but didn't take the intended action. That's a powerful use of intelligent direct mail. So Julie, I'm gonna lob it back over to you. How is your team evolving how they target prospects, and what are they doing differently now?
Nice pun, Kim, I like that one. Let's see, so
Thank you.
we're B2B, and we're becoming, I would say, more sophisticated in our targeting as we evolve and mature. Right now, we're working on a couple of things. So the first is just standardizing and correcting a lot of our fields in our CRM, specifically our industry fields, so we could target by industry. And let's see, the other thing is we're looking at integrating a database system that will verify home addresses. We want to be able to use direct mail for folks that are middle and bottom of the funnel right in their home offices.
Yeah, those are some sophisticated things. So I'm curious, what's proving to be the most challenging?
Let's say collecting home addresses is always challenging, but absolutely worth it. There is something magical and powerful about getting a postcard in someone's hands in their home after they visited your website. It is absolutely worth it. And we have found the best way to get home addresses is just primary sources, right from the horse's mouth. So we've started integrating the ask for home addresses whenever possible. So for example, we have a page that comes up after people download our resources. And we say, thank you, here's the resource. We occasionally like to send direct mail to you, enter your address, and we add that to our CRM. The other option, of course, is to purchase addresses from a data provider, then verifying them before mailing anything. We are very fortunate here at Lob. We have our own address verification tool that we use. So I was going to say we drink our own Kool-Aid, but earlier you said we drink our own champagne, and that's what we do.
Kool-Aid, champagne, we'll take it. But I really like how you're incorporating that into things that prospects are already doing on the website, right? So they're filling out a form, then you're just like, oh, hey, as part of this, like, give us your address, we'll send you something of value. And research that we've done shows that 85% of people will read their direct mail almost immediately. So it really is being responded to and taken action on. So based on that, I'd love to look at some best practices you use with targeting. As we've discussed, targeting enables you to send fewer mail pieces that can generate better responses when you have the type of campaign that would benefit from segmentation. So what are some best practices that you have when it comes to targeting, Julie? I know we've talked a lot about data.
Yeah, so I'd say targeting based on behavior coupled with personalization is always a strong move. And I know I'm beating this drum a lot, but I'll say it again. It says it here, data rules. You can use data to target based on browsing history, past purchases, any kind of engagement. Then you can personalize and customize mail pieces by just about any field you have in Salesforce. So think first name, industry, location. The more specific the mail piece is to a person, the better the results are going to be, right? Direct mail should feel like it's arrived just in time to solve a very personal and specific problem.
Absolutely. And those are awesome tips. And I know that they're included in detail in the guide that our audience will get. So I'd love to share one last example, how a popular grocery service used data to retain more customers. So Imperfect Foods is a direct-to-consumer grocery delivery service, and they wanted to optimize the customer experience and grow lifetime value, right? Which equates to ROI. Using Segment, a popular customer data platform to collect user activities, Imperfect Foods fed that data into its A/B testing tools, which allowed it to set up and run experiments for different audiences. Again, using Segment, Imperfect Foods then passed that data back into its data warehouse where it analyzed results with several tools, including Amplitude. This allowed the team to quickly set up and evaluate these tests. And the team had a hypothesis that allowing customers to select food they didn't want in their box would improve their satisfaction and loyalty, right? Like, who wants to get a beet? Not me. Imperfect Foods built the functionality, tested it, established its target market in LA, and then launched the feature to 50% of its LA subscribers. This update, and giving them the choice, had a significant impact on retention. Customers that used the new feature were 21% more likely to be retained. The streamlined data infrastructure and integration across all of its tools allowed the team to uncover a customer experience change that immediately impacted retention. So this is a really powerful example of using data to inform your tactics across your marketing tech stack, including digital and physical. So this leads us to our last strategy, which is putting it all together using your most effective channels to crush your goals. Forbes found that 90% of customers expect and respond better to consistent interactions across multiple channels. Makes sense, right? You don't want to get inconsistent messages everywhere you go. When done right, omnichannel marketing enables you to align across all digital and physical touch points in the customer journey and guide customers across the path to conversion. As you know, it's increasingly hard to get in front of your ideal customer due to changes in technology and digital marketing. That's why marketers are doubling down on offline channels instead of a digital-only strategy. Only 5% of marketers said they use direct mail as a standalone tactic. As we saw in the Marley spoon example, they got better results when they used email and direct mail together. The more you can lean in on your most productive and efficient channels, the better. So Julie, can you give me an example of how you combine online and offline channels in the customer journey?
Yeah, and I think on the next slide, excellent. We've got a really fun example here of an omni-channel campaign that combines digital and real life touch points. This is our Change the Channel to Log campaign that we launched recently. The concept behind this campaign is that the 1980s were great in a lot of ways, but not for direct mail marketing, and also not for my hair. So because a lot has changed, it's time to change your direct mail channel to automation. So as you can see, this is a very creative campaign for us, and we built an entire ecosystem of communication points, both offline and online. So let's see, on the digital side, we've got this personalized website, we have email, and then we also had LinkedIn ads because we know our target audience are on that platform. And then in real life, we integrate multiple touch points. We have postcards, several postcards that we're sending, but we also designed custom Rubik's Cubes with a handwritten note that drove folks back to our microsite. So we're talking about ROI today. This campaign obviously wasn't cheap, but it also has had long legs. And we are targeting our high value customers with the more expensive in real life touch points. And so far we've gotten 11 ops, we've booked 1 new customer, and it's continuing to feed us.
Dare I say it, this is a totally tubular example of everything we've been talking about today. I love it. And I love how just every point is connected, it's consistent. It really brings everything to life that we've been talking about. So I think we're ready to recap what we've covered today. Direct mail is a critical piece in your marketing strategy puzzle, or Rubik's Cube, so to speak. By using data from your CRM, marketing automation platform, and other integrations, you can precisely segment and target your audience members to receive the right message at the right time in conjunction with those other touch points in the customer journey. This coordinated effort results in more targeted but fewer mail pieces being sent. Good for sustainability and better response and ROI metrics. Direct mail provides a way to get your most important messages to consumers. And as a moderately priced channel with high read and response rates, it fills a role no other channel does. Consumers check their mail daily, and because mail is less saturated than digital channels, they tend to read messages they may delete or scroll past on digital channels. Like the falling tree in the forest analogy, consumers can't take action on a message they don't see. So using direct mail is a smart choice. An omnichannel marketing approach uses each channel where it's strongest. Rather than blasting the same content everywhere, you can use a high impact channel to drive conversions while using digital channels to drive engagement, send routine and time sensitive messages, and keep your brand enthusiasts in the loop. Direct mail marketing is a channel that's withstood the test of time. Technology advancements have made executing and creating a direct mail campaign easier and more powerful. With the power of automation and emerging technology, you can add and fully integrate a proven channel into your marketing strategy, creating a seamless customer experience and enabling your team to focus on crushing its ROI and budget goals. So I think we can entertain a few questions. Are you ready, Julie? See if we have any in the Q&A panel. Oh, looks like we already have some. And just a reminder, we'll get to as many of these as we can, but if we don't get to your question, don't fret. We'll definitely follow up via email following the webinar. Let me scan these quickly. Okay, here's a good one. They're all good, but you've mentioned something about flat rate pricing that varies from campaign to campaign earlier. How can we make campaign costs more predictable? Can you please explain? Want to take that, Julie?
Oh, yeah. So I believe flat rate pricing is unique to Lob's customers because we have a nationwide network of printers that we work with. And because of that, we can negotiate flat and predictable pricing, which is very helpful when you're doing an ROI analysis. We have to do it for our direct mail channel, just like all of our other marketing channels. So I really appreciate this. And I'll tell you, the very cool thing is because we have access to all these printers, I don't have to worry about paper charges. Everything's delivered faster because we're typically printing a piece at a location that is closest to the recipient. So I can get it into people's hands faster. And that also cuts down on the impact of the environment because we're not incurring huge transportation costs. So yeah, it's all very cool.
Awesome. Faster, better, stronger. Love it. Okay, here's another one. When you talked about your targeting best practices, you said you used address verification. So I'm reading this. Is that a product you offer or do you use a third-party service?
Oh yeah, that's us drinking our own champagne again. We're lucky because we actually have two products that are integrated into Lob's print and mail. One is address verification, which is the one I just talked about. The other is it's a product called identity verification, which makes sure we're actually talking to a person, a real person at the location. So as you can probably tell from everything I've said during this presentation, I don't like wasting a dime. And I like that we can get a thumbs up on deliverability before we print and mail.
Yeah, again, this is such a smart tactic because you're not, again, like you said, wasting a dime, creating, printing and sending mail to an address that's bad and would get, sent back or to a person that doesn't exist, right, or isn't there. So both address and identity verification are really smart tactics. All right, I knew this question was going to come up. So what's the ROI on direct mail versus email? I think this probably is going to be our last question. Julie, do you want to take that and I might chime in too?
Yeah, what a great question. And the first thing I want everyone to remember is that email isn't free, right? So when you're doing your ROI analysis of your email channel, you've got to consider the cost of your marketing automation platform, your database enrichment tools, your email list scrubber, and of course, there's a lot of headcount involved with sending email. There's people who write the content, the people who set up the email. There's a real expense to email. But Kim, don't we have stats from our research on direct mail versus email?
We do, and those people who write the content are super important. but just kidding. But in our state of direct mail, and I think we showed the stat earlier, 67% of marketers said that direct mail has the highest ROI of any channel they use. And as we heard earlier in the Marley Spoon example, direct mail for them provided 263% more ROI than email. But that was their specific use case and use of the channel. And it's going to depend, right? Company by company. And I feel like such a marketer when I say it depends, but it's true. So this isn't a comparison of which channel's better. It's not an ROI of email versus direct mail. it's really about that they both have their place in a marketer strategy. And I think that's, a good place to end. Before we wrap up, I'd love to launch a quick poll to see if our audience would like to learn a little bit more about direct mail automation platform from Lab that provides, and transforms direct mail into intelligent mail at scale. So we'll pop that up here. I'd love to thank all of you for coming, and really, Julie, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down with me today and share all your incredible insights with our audience.
It's my pleasure, Kim. Thank you again for allowing me to join.
Always, you're coming back for more, trust me. And I'm glad we didn't get any food thrown at us by Princess Daffodil. Good job. But I would like to see that at some point, honestly. A little reminder to our audience, please keep your eyes peeled for your recording of the webinar as well as the guide. And until next time, happy mailing.